We've got the monthly report here for January. This is kind of an important one because it's the first month of a new year. So obviously, maybe they'll have some new stuff in here. We'll get to see some insights into what they're thinking. But January is still their planning month. So I'm going to say I'm not really disappointed. This one is lighter than I was hoping. But I was hoping it would have some more telling things in here since we still don't have a roadmap for 4.1. Now, I'm guessing we'll get that next week, but they are a little bit late on it. Now, because we had a huge freaking 4-hour Star Citizen Live session today, we're not going to go through the whole monthly report. We've also got a cooking stream coming up in about 15 minutes. So we're going to hit some of the key details in this report. It's a short one. And just talk about kind of what's going on. What's going on in Star Citizen right now? No mention of the missing 4.0 features. Yeah. So let's start with AI. Interesting. I mean, it sounds kind of like it, for anybody who doesn't know, CIG has a new partnership with a company called 11 Labs. They do AI voice stuff, and some of that stuff is like conversational AI. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to literally make conversations out of AI. They might just be producing voice lines. But this is something that has been confirmed, I believe, to be in partnership with Cloud Imperium Games. And you can see like that's not weird. Paradox is here. So they're kind of using it to some extent too. And I think there are some ways that you could use AI for this kind of stuff that are responsible, and other ways that maybe aren't so much. I don't want to get into that conversation right now, but I think that's part of what they're talking about here. This is saying that the AI content team began the year prototyping an upcoming NPC that will utilize an amalgamation of several behavior types. Work was done on a proprietary tool that will allow the designers to generate a script of the in-game dialogue flow to ensure the lines work as intended. This will allow for more efficiency in writing and capturing of future characters. Actually, I got this wrong. I'm sorry. That's not the line that I think relates to the AI stuff, because this is about something specific. Am I just making that up in my head? I could have sworn they were talking about the voice lines. Dynamic voice lines here. Yeah, I might have just implemented that into my own head. No, not conversations with us. These are conversations between NPCs. You can hear them in 4.0 already. Moving down further, looking at more AI stuff, they're talking about the Valakar. Maybe this is one of the events that they're working on for Pyro. I think this will be one of the content drops this year, but I don't know when that might happen. And like, it's good to note, I think this is a good example of how they're planning on still releasing new features, but they're trying to do them in content drops. So I do think that the Valakar is something we'll see this year, and it will introduce new features because it's a large fauna. It comes out of the ground. These are new features, but they're being included in an actual content drop, which is the Valakar hunting mission. So I think this would be one of those times where we see an update. It doesn't feel necessarily big, but it still is bringing in some new stuff. Continuing on with AI tech, here is one of those systems that we just heard about in the video we just watched. This is the new scripting tool. This is what helps with the missions, like he was saying. So this, I believe, let me just make sure. It looks like StarScript or Apollo. Yeah, internal StarScript tool. So this is what they're using to replace Subsumption. As he was saying, it's replacing a very outdated system that they've been using since 3.0 that has needed to go. So it's a good change for them. Animation, again, they're working on the Sandworm. They're also working on some special Spec Ops AI, which we have an example of. Shown you this, guys, or I've shown this to you guys before. They used to focus on how AI looked when fighting next to each other. So some people who are untrained here, and then this maybe would be like a Spec Ops guy, obviously can hold his own better than these dudes. When they step out to fire, they look like they can't even hold their feet. And then your military trained folks. So I think that's what they're talking about here when they say AI for the Spec Ops set, alongside 2 others, is currently underway to add more challenge to combat. Moving on, they're talking about Starwear, which is more customized clothing for us, Duster Armor, and the concept art team explored ideas for new items and currently looking into paint schemes for existing armor. So they're just adding more variety for loot and stuff. Probably more options for crafting as well. Going down to core gameplay, which is usually the most fun freaking part of the monthly report. This one is about 4.0 stuff, which we kind of expected, but I was hoping there'd be a little bit more. They began planning for the rest of the year, of course, January planning month, laying the groundwork for upcoming patches and planned features and content. Alongside this, technical documentation was created for fundamental improvements or rewrites to some of the core systems, including the transit and hangar flows. Like what we were just listening to. So this would normally be where you hear about features coming in. Salvage, cargo, mining. In fact, let's jump back to, let's see what last year's version of this was saying. January 2024 monthly report. This would have been a very exciting report for everybody because this was after the big 2023 CitizenCon, but before 2023 actually dropped. So look at how big this segment is. Look at this. Somebody come look at this. Do we have a word count? How many words is this? Tell me. Can you not tell me that type of information? Google, you're not smart enough? Okay, however much it is, it's a whole freaking page compared to this. 2 paragraphs. So you could tell how much they have pulled back on developing core gameplay at the moment compared to last year. Last year we were hearing about Maelstrom. They were talking about work on the transit system. They were talking about engineering getting refactored, Arena Commander getting updates. Cargo update was getting worked on. EVA V2 was being worked on at that time. Master modes was showing up in there. Resource network and life support. So like you get the idea that there's just a lot of updates going through when they're doing a lot of crunchy feature work, and right now we're definitely not seeing that. Bummer. Economy team though kicked off the year collecting data from 4.0. Okay. Mission team created a new unannounced content that will improve the quality of all missions, including retroactively improving all existing missions. Okay. We don't really know what that means, but besides that, they just worked on bugs for Fight for Pyro. Like, January was very much a maintenance month for them. Narrative team. This is one of the most, I think this is probably the most interesting part of this report and something I'll make a video on. The narrative team began 2025 meeting with multiple disciplines to solidify new ways of delivering in-game narrative content. They also focused on increasing the number of characters that players will meet in the verse. Though through these efforts, their hope is that they will expand on the storytelling opportunities that players will be able to experience and discover in upcoming patches. So we talked about that before. Return to mission givers, starting to get some representatives for the factions that you're working for. Basically just adding, it means that we're not going to use our mobiGlas for every and all interactions when it comes to contracts and stuff now. Live tools, don't think they really did anything too crazy interesting. Just planning out the year ahead. In the last week of January, both teams met in the Montreal office to establish and plan their 2025 and 2026 roadmaps. Yay! R&D. What did R&D do? Work on rain volumes inspired a prototype for improving ground fog rendering. So they're working on rain and fog. Makes sense for the weather.